Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Crypto Tips. My name is Heidi.
And I'm Maria.
And Maria is an amazing lawyer here in Portugal, specializing in things like visas, NHR programs, cryptocurrencies, and all that is evolving as this grows in Portugal.
Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah.
You're so kind.
So today we're going to talk about the NHR program, which stands for non-habitual resident.
Right.
And all of what that is, and it can be kind of confusing. Because it's not really a visa status or residency status.
No, it's a tax regime.
Okay.
A more favorable tax regime. Okay. So when you become a tax resident in Portugal, that means when you have a tax number associated to a Portuguese address where you live in, you can apply to the NHR, which is a more beneficial regime. It has nothing to do with immigration or visas.
Okay.
Although it says non-habitual resident, it confuses a lot. But it has nothing to do with visas. It's called non-habitual residency. Maybe they decided to call it that because it's for those who work remotely. So they are in Portugal. They are living in Portugal. But it's not your habitual way of living because you're not working in Portugal.
Okay.
And you can go back and forward. Imagine you're working remotely, but you have to go assist meetings and so on in that other country, right? You don't have to. It's just me trying to understand why they call it the NHR.
Yeah.
That's only a name.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with immigration.
So basically, it's like there's a separation between where you live and where you work.
Yes.
Generally.
Yes.
Okay.
Or not.
Okay. Now that we cleared that up.
Okay. Now it's more confusing. No. Okay, so the non-habitual resident, once you become a tax resident in Portugal, you can apply before the 31st of March of the year after you become a tax resident. Imagine you become a tax resident in today. So you have until the 31st of March. Some say you only have 6 months. So it will go until October, I believe.
Okay.
But it's always before the 31st of March.
In this case, that would be in 2023.
2023,
Okay.
Exactly. This tax regime is valid for 10 years. You can suspend it. Imagine you move to Portugal this year, but next year you have an opportunity and you go to Italy. You become a tax resident in Italy. Then you ask the Portuguese tax office to suspend your NHR so that year doesn't count.
Okay.
Because you only have 10 years. And you can only apply once in your life, those first 6 months or that first before the 31st of March that you became a tax resident.
Gotcha.
For example, in your
case... You can't just cancel it and then reapply again.
No.
It's when you
Only
first
one time, valid for 10 years, and you can suspend it.
Okay.
In my case, or your case, my case, I was a tax resident when I was born. So those 6 months were a long time ago. In your case, you didn't apply, so now you cannot.
Yeah.
Okay? Only if, look, you could have been living in Portugal for 10 years and your tax residence was also always elsewhere. That sometimes happens. So you're living in Portugal, but you declare that you don't want to be taxed here and you taxed in the United States.
Yeah.
And you say, Maria, but I've been living in Portugal for 10 years. True. With a visa, true. But you told the tax office that your address is in the United States, so you're not a tax resident. Good for you, because you can change your address to Portuguese, become a Portuguese tax resident, and you have the time to apply for the NHR.
Okay.
So it really depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Now, why is this tax regime more favorable?
Yeah.
So, as you know, if you're a tax resident in Portugal, if you're self-employed, your taxes are progressive depending on the value of the profits and so on that you do. But it can go from 19% till 48%, something more or less, right? If you're working for somebody else also, there's a progressive IRS scale depending on how much you earn per year, right? With the NHR, all the income that you did abroad, imagine you're living in Portugal, but you work for a company in Finland. The company is paying the taxes in Finland. You are tax zero in Portugal. You declare it in the attachment L.
Okay.
All your income and all the dividends and so on that you received, and it's tax zero. If for some reason you also working for a company in Portugal or not, or you only work for a company in Portugal because you have an NHI, it will be a flat rate of 20%.
Okay. So the benefit is that if you're earning income from an outside country and it's taxed in that outside country, Portugal will not also tax it.
No, no double
if you prove that
taxes.
it's been taxed already.
Yes. But there are some situations that you can go around it. Some countries that don't tax that kind of income, it's not your fault. You're living in Portugal, you declare it, and then the tax office will determine if it's taxed or not. But normally it's not, because you've been working outside and you are an NHR. But you need to fill in the requirements. There are some requirements. For example, you have to be doing one of these professions. For example, there's a list.
Okay.
Architects, engineers, geologists, plastic artists, actors, musicians,
Okay.
medics, dentists. But for the crypto space, which is where we are right now, I believe the 708, yeah. Activities with information, space, tech, tech programming, consulting in and now this is where it gets more creative.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the creative part.
We're artists.
We're artists. Okay, so what I tell my clients is, okay, you're not working. No, Maria, I'm only in Portugal, only for crypto. And I'm not doing anything else. So I don't think I should apply for the NHR. My understanding, my opinion, this is only my opinion. You know, you do whatever you want. My opinion is I would apply because you can only apply once.
Yeah.
So I would always apply because you don't know the future.
Have it in your back pocket.
I would always apply. And if you say, oh, Maria, crypto is going to be taxed next year.
Yeah.
Okay, let's breathe. And it's so high. Okay, let's breathe. Okay, so what would we do? We could, and I'm just saying this out loud, just a thought. We could open a company in Estonia, for example. They don't tax non-residents.
Yep.
We put our crypto there, right? We consult. We work for that company as consultants, where we do the investments and so on, and we are paid as tech consultants because that's what we're doing. Or investments, or CEOs, because CEOs also does. That falls under the NHR. So it would be zero.
Because, you had, it came from Estonia, and under their tax policy, they don't tax. And because Portugal doesn't.
But you would declare it.
Yeah.
You would always have to declare it, not the crypto, the income that you're receiving from that company.
From Estonia. In Portugal, you'd have to declare it in Portugal. Yeah.
But this is very important. We are just talking, general speaking. Each case is a case. We had to see if it fills the requirements. We have to build it accordingly. What I'm trying to justify is, if you have the chance to apply for the NHR, I really think you should.
Yeah. Because what's the cost involved with that, or the process for
at the tax office? There's no cost. Okay. You can try to do it yourself, or you hire an attorney to help you with it.
Yeah.
Or an accountant also can help you with it. But there's several steps you have to do. One of it is become a tax resident in Portugal, and then associated to that address you have to ask for a password to access the website. And then from there, that's when you do all the things. And then, very important, the year after, you see if you have to do an annual statement or not, if you're working.
Okay. So if someone were to, let's say, open a company in Estonia and they didn't have the NHR.
You liked that idea, didn't you?
It's a good idea. For example, for someone who waited too late to register for the NHR, what would that look like for them being, let's say, a resident in Portugal?
They are a resident in Portugal. They are not NHR. And they are working abroad. They have to prove that they've been paying taxes elsewhere, because what doesn't pay taxes is the company. It's from a non-resident, right? But the company has their employees. If they find a way, imagine Estonia, I don't know now how is the Estonia taxes for their employees, but they can declare it. If it's taxed somewhere, even if it's €1, it's not taxed in Portugal because we don't do double taxes.
Okay.
Right? And the other thing is, we can ask for remotely, and we always have to search for the tax convention.
Okay.
All countries have a tax convention and in this case, between Portugal and Estonia. And sometimes, most of the times, what that convention says is, if it's work done in this country, is taxed in this country, regardless if it's taxed or not.
Okay.
If it's work done in Portugal, then it's taxed Portugal. If a property is in Estonia, it's taxed in Estonia. If the property,
They
okay,
don't
so
switch.
no, so
Okay.
you would have to see the convention between Portugal
The
and
agreement
Estonia.
that they have between the two. Okay.
And then they always, those conventions always says, what do they consider income? What do they consider assets? What do they, okay? So we have to study the case. That's why we always say it's case by case. I know it's frustrating because you want to know all the answers right now and we don't know your special case. But the truth is this, we have to see case by case.
Yeah, and you might have a situation where it's a lot more flexible for you and easier for you than what the general answer might be.
There you go.
It's definitely worth it to consult with a professional.
Not Google.
Don't take your advice from Google. So just again, a brief overview, the benefits of the NHR and maybe the general timeline it takes to qualify or to get it approved.
Oh, it's quite fast.
Okay.
They're quite fast, a week. Yeah, they are quite fast. Yeah. And you have to apply in the first 6 months you become a tax resident or until the 31st of March. It's valid for 10 years.
You can
the good news is you can suspend it if you move elsewhere, but if you're not, you at least enjoy those 10 years. Maria, what happens when those 10 years are over? You're a tax resident just like me.
Yeah.
Because this is only for those. This was made to attract those with high qualifications that want to move to Portugal and etc. So that's why they came up with this more favorable tax regime.